The message came without warning, a simple transmission, broadcast on all channels in all languages. The Galactic Concord has unanimously voted to quarantine Sol system. Any vessel attempting to breach the established boundary will be destroyed. This decision is final and irrevocable. That was it. No explanation, no appeals process. Earth and its colonies abandoned. Admiral James Walker stood on the bridge of the UVS Defiant, watching as the last diplomatic vessel returned from the boundary. His weathered face remained impassive, but his knuckles whitened as he gripped the console. "What did they say?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. Commander Ellis shook her head. "Nothing, sir. It wouldn't even accept our transmission." Walker nodded once. "So that's it then." 1,200 years of alliance, 73 wars fought alongside them, countless technological exchanges, cultural integrations. He trailed off, and they cast us aside like a broken tool. "Orders, sir?" Ellis asked. Walker turned to face his crew, each face reflecting the same mixture of disbelief and growing anger. "We prepare," he said simply. The quarantine hit humanity hard. Trade routes severed, resource exchanges halted, scientific collaborations abandoned. But if the Concord expected humanity to wither and die, they had severely miscalculated. Dr. Marcus Rollins had spent his entire career studying Concord technology, often finding himself the least respected scientist in any joint venture. The alien scientists had always been dismissive of human approaches. Too inefficient, too primitive, too human. Now, in his underground laboratory, surrounded by notes and prototypes, he smiled grimly. "They never bothered to understand how we think," he muttered to himself as he made the final adjustments to his prototype. The quantum resonance engine hummed to life, its efficiency rating already 30% higher than the Concorde equivalent. Across Earth and its colonies, similar scenes played out. Human engineers, long deemed inferior by their alien counterparts, began innovating without constraints. Without the rigid methodologies imposed by Concorde standards, human creativity flourished in ways the aliens had never anticipated. 5 years passed. The quarantine boundary remained, patrolled by Concorde warships. Inside, humanity transformed. Admiral Walker, now Fleet Commander Walker, stood before the United Earth Government Council. The chamber was silent as he delivered his report. "The Artemis fleet is ready," he announced. 27 warships, each equipped with our new shield technology and resonance weaponry. Our simulations indicate we can pierce the quarantine with minimal casualties. President Torres leaned forward. "And then what, Commander? Wage war against the entire Concorde? Even with our advancements, we're outnumbered thousands to one." Walker's expression remained neutral. "We don't need to defeat them all, Madam President. We just need to demonstrate that abandoning us was their greatest mistake." The vote was unanimous. The Concorde patrol never saw it coming. The Artemis fleet emerged from slip space directly at the boundary, their engines operating on frequencies the Concorde sensors weren't calibrated to detect. The Battle of the Boundary, as it would later be known, lasted 17 minutes. 7 Concorde warships destroyed, 3 captured, and not a single human casualty. On the bridge of the UES Vengeance, Walker received the transmission from the captured Concorde flagship. "This is Council Representative Thal. You have committed an act of war against the Galactic Concorde. Stand down immediately." Walker allowed himself a small smile. "Representative Thal, we did not initiate this conflict. The Concorde declared war the moment it abandoned humanity without cause or explanation. Now you will provide both." The truth, when it finally came, was almost anticlimactic. The quarantine had never been about humanity at all. It was fear. Fear of what lay beyond the known galaxy. Fear of an ancient enemy that had once nearly destroyed the Concorde. Fear that humanity's rapid advancement and unpredictable nature would draw attention. "You quarantined us to use as bait," Walker stated flatly, staring at the holographic representation of the Concorde High Council. "You positioned us as a buffer, hoping that if this enemy returned, they would strike us first, giving you time to prepare." "It was necessary," the High Counselor replied, unrepentant. "Your species is young, adaptable. You could survive in isolation. The greater galaxy needed protection." Ellis, standing beside Walker, couldn't contain her disgust, and you didn't think to ask us. To give us a choice? You would have refused. Humans always refuse logical sacrifices. Walker's laugh surprised even his own crew. You're right. We would have refused being sacrificed, but we would have fought alongside you against this enemy. That's what you never understood about us. The terms of the new treaty were unprecedented. Humanity would retain its autonomy, no longer bound by Concord protocols. Earth would lead the defense initiative against the potential threat, with Concord resources at its disposal. As the human delegation prepared to return to Earth, Representative Thal approached Walker privately. You realize the threat may never materialize, he said. Our ancestors may have exaggerated the danger. Walker nodded. Perhaps, but we'll be ready either way. Why not seek vengeance against the Concord? You could have demanded more. Walker considered this for a moment. Vengeance is short-sighted. Humanity's gaze is fixed on the horizon now. As the UES Defiant departed, the Concord observers couldn't help but notice the ship's new insignia, Earth, surrounded not by chains but by flames. When the ancient enemy finally did arrive, 83 years later, they found not an isolated, vulnerable Earth, but the headquarters of the most formidable defense force the galaxy had ever known. Humanity had transformed abandonment into ascendance. The galaxy that had once abandoned humanity now stood behind it, as the species that had been discarded became their only hope for survival. And humanity, true to its nature, did not disappoint.